Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Ite Namani.
This is the second of the three good fortunes I had of spending some time with Srila Prabhupada personally. It was rather difficult in those days for a new kid on the block, and I was fairly new. I joined in '75. And at this time, it was around the same time, Srila Prabhupada was visiting the Manhattan Temple, and he was on his initial inspection. And although I had spearheaded construction on the building with Tosan Krishna, and Pancharatna was our quasi-bhakta leader, I wasn't invited to go on the initial inspection. However, being familiar with the building as I was, I knew the fire doors that didn't lock. There were certain doors that would not close securely. So I waited until Srila Prabhupada and the entourage passed this particular fire door, and Tamal Krishna was there, and Adi Keshava was there, Bhavananda, Sudama, Madhavisa, maybe Sri Ram. So whoever, anybody who was anybody was kind of there at that time. And I waited just until the entourage passed the fire door, and I opened it as quietly as I could, and I slipped into the back of the procession, and Drishtadyumna Maharaj was there, and he said, "Hey, you know, you can't be here," and this was by invitation. I said, "No, I want to spend time with Srila Prabhupada." And Srila Prabhupada stopped, and he turned around and he looked right at us in the back of the procession, and that was it. Boy, we were just like, you know, fell into line like a couple of choir boys, and that was the end of it. He just gave us a look. And so, but what followed that was curious, and I sort of haunted by it in a way. Tamal Krishna suggested to Srila Prabhupada that we sell the building on 55th Street, and Srila Prabhupada pretty much ignored him, and it struck me because I had put so much blood, sweat, and tears into working on it, so I was personally attached. And then Adi Keshava said, and with this, I think it was $2.1 million they were anticipating in profit at the time, we can do some other, I guess he was going to say project, and Srila Prabhupada interrupted him and he said, "Stop." He said, "Do not sell this building. Where will the devotees go? Where will the deities go? If you sell this building, so many devotees will fall down." And Adi Keshava attempted to persist, and he said, "But Srila Prabhupada," and Srila Prabhupada took his cane and he slammed it on the floor. And he said, "No, no means no." And that was the end of the conversation, and we proceeded with the inspection floor by floor. What I took away from that experience was, for me, certainly personally, and for all of us as Prabhupada's disciples, what the consequences are for disobeying a direct order of the spiritual master. And of course, what we saw subsequent to selling the building was a tragedy of epic proportions.
So the anticipation is building up. I'm going to get initiated, and I'm going to see Prabhupada for the first time. And then we're in Chicago, which was a little rough place, I guess, in those days. People very American in a sense and defensive about it. If you didn't dress like an American and you didn't talk like an American, then you deserve to be abused. So we were 100% the opposite of what they thought Americans should look like. So, you know, you had a few months to adjust to that, the shock that people didn't like you because you didn't dress like them. Such a, you know, they were brutal in Chicago. They would arrest us on Harinam, arrest us on book distribution, even though the judge would always throw it out when we come in front of the judge. And police, everyone just went out their way to make you feel unwanted. So this is the scene, and me, at that time, I am 19 years old. So they decide Prabhupada's coming and we're going to go to O'Hara Airport and greet Prabhupada in the airport with kirtan. And I'm thinking, they're going to arrest Prabhupada. I'm 19, naive, you know. I don't, but you know, you don't question authority there much because I'm really low on the pecking order. But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, they say, why are they going to the airport to do this? This is going to be. So we go to the airport. There's probably 60 to 100 devotees with kirtan in the airport. And in those days, you could go up to the terminal. And I remember, of course, when there were kirtan and the media's there, and television stations, big scene in the airport. And I particularly remember the police because we would distribute books in the airport, and so we're always conscientious of the police and trying to avoid them or what are their reactions. And I'm looking at the whole scene, and I remember the policemen just standing over there with those faces. Like, I can't believe these people, or how dare they? Even the people walking through the airport are really just giving us the look like, you people, what is wrong with you? But the devotees are absorbed in just kirtan in anticipation of waiting for Prabhupada. And even myself, it's, you know, the first time you're going to see the pure devotee, the person you've been reading the books or the person you've been serving. And the video gave you a little sense of what he's like, but it's nothing like what it is when you see him in person. I think that was really one of the biggest realizations I got when we finally saw him. So anyway, plane lands, it's pulling up to the terminal. I believe Prabhupada came off first. I think they would give him the courtesy of coming off first. And doors are opening, and the kirtan is building up, and Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada. It's really, and then you see Prabhupada, he's in front, and I see him come around the corner, and he's turning, and as he turns, I catch those policemen that were standing like this. Now all of a sudden you see them, they're serving, they're walking with Prabhupada. Step back, making everybody move. And they're totally changed. Everybody's changed. The TV reporters, all the karmis, all that defensiveness, that offensiveness, there's gone. And of course, you know, in the airport, at least that time, he went straight to the car, a little bit of an interview in the car, and he left and we ran back to the temple. But I remember afterwards in the airport, those policemen that were there, attitudes totally changed in the airport. They weren't anymore, harassers like they used to. Well, I heard with the exception of one person, someone said, they said a few weeks later he died from heart attack. The only one that didn't change. But the rest of them, just from seeing Prabhupada once, that was it. That was it. So that's that moment's association with a pure devotee.
So one time in Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class shortly after the opening of the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir. And I remember this class very specifically. And this really exemplifies Srila Prabhupada's absolutely sublime character and his humility. This was a very successful moment in his preaching achievement. He had gone to the West, he'd come back, he had built the Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, and it was the opening ceremony. And he was clearly emotional. And the amazing thing that he said, that I remember very clearly, he said, I'm unfit to be your leader. And I couldn't understand. When I was hearing that then, it didn't register with me. But after reflection upon his words, after all these years, I can realize that out of genuine humility, he actually meant it. He would say, I'm unfit to be your leader. He said, Lord Chaitanya has planted you all over the world. Because previously you were associated with Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. He said, actually, the credit is to you. I am unfit to be your leader. And I could not understand it in those. I just did not know what he was talking about at that time. As a young devotee, I was 24 years old. I had been a devotee for 4 years. And I could not understand. But now I understand it. Is that he actually meant it. That's what really impresses me tremendously is that he had everything to be proud of. He had everything to boast about. But he genuinely thought he was unqualified. He said, I'm not fit to be your leader. And he actually meant it. I could never do that. As soon as I get a little bit of achievement, you start gloating, you start feeling a little bit elated, but not with Srila Prabhupada. So how can we understand, the purity of such a Mahabhagavat like Srila Prabhupada and his humility, the humility that he displayed in that instance amidst his glorious achievement. And he never ever was proud. But at the same time, he was never ever fearful of chastising people, his competitors, who didn't spread the movement according to the wishes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Srila Prabhupada's character of humility in the midst of his absolutely amazing achievements is something that's very hard to comprehend. It can only come from someone who's a Mahabhagavat, and that was Srila Prabhupada.
I was having the service of being in Vrindavan, and I was in charge of the kitchen. And Ayodhyapati, who is Govinda Bringa Maharaj, he was the cook. So Prabhupada left, so everybody went to his room, because I was doing service, but I had no time to go to Prabhupada's room, because I'm too busy with my service. Somebody has to finish the cooking, prasadam has to be taken care of, devotees are coming. So this is more important than sitting with Prabhupada in his room, Prabhupada wants. But the last 3 hours I was next to Prabhupada, sitting. His head was there, and I was sitting here, and I was feeling a little uncomfortable even to touch Prabhupada and do the last massage. At that time he was easily available to everybody. But I was very shy. I thought, wow, I'm so fallen, how can I touch Prabhupada and give him a massage? Let me just do kirtan with the rest of the devotees. And I was very carefully observing his lips. And Prabhupada opened 2 times the mouth. Hare Krishna, that was it. There was only 2 times. But I could see very clearly it was Hare Krishna, and that was it. Prabhupada left just by saying Hare Krishna.
Je anilo premadana koruna prachur